Welcome back and thank you again for stopping at Nine World Chronicles. Today I wanted to talk about a very particular deity who is a serpent, and there's tons of serpent worship in almost every culture. Sometimes revered more as dragons, but a lot of times just seen as giant snakes. As this particular being here, this is Bida. Now, this is important because this reflects mythology from West Africa, particularly Ghana, Benin, the what we would call the Gold Coast. And this mythology is tied directly to the mineral resources of the Gold Coast. Now, this, as you can see, is a golden colored serpent. He was called the Great Serpent, who had a very complex relationship with mankind. There are multiple tellings of the mythology of this serpent, but all seem to reflect the same overall theme. This is a snake who is said in some cultures who would rain gold upon the people 3 days out of the year, and obviously went along with their great wealth of that region. The stories were always tied to some form of sacrifice, particularly of young maidens. In one tale, he was given 10 maidens per year. In another, it was negotiated down to one maiden. But there was always a sacrifice, a human sacrifice for the wealth that was given to these people. And inevitably, in these stories, there was always a hero character. We understand how these stories work. And the hero would ultimately stand up for the maiden, or a particular maiden who was generally driven, he was generally driven by feelings of love, and would inevitably slay the snake, typically by cutting his head off when he came to take his offerings. Now, in some tales, the death of this particular serpent Bida meant that there was going to be drought or hard times in the area. And that seemed to be pretty prevalent in the three mythologies about this particular serpent. But in another tale, it also says that when his head was detached from his body, it fell upon the west coast of Africa. And thus, that's why it became the Gold Coast. So, an interesting telling, again, interesting because serpents are a part of many mythologies, both in Africa and other countries and cultures outside of the world. But this, again, is more interesting to me because it ties directly into the wealth of what would be called the Gold Coast, what it would be known for, and still is, for its deep mineral resources that should be making that land very prosperous. But of course, because of colonization, is still being looted to this day. But again, an interesting mythology, the Bida, the great serpent who comes to us from West Africa, an opportunity for us to learn more about our West African roots for those of us who have them, and for the people there to venerate what their ancient ancestors believe. As always, I thank you for stopping in. Be sure to click that like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so when you know when new videos drop.